Welcome to the Signal PopCast. My name is Alyssa Shotwell. I am a co-producer of the Signal PopCast. Today I have two members of the UHCL Signal staff with me, and they are...
Hi, I'm Emily Wolfe, and I am one of the co-managing editors for The Signal.
Hello, I'm Miles Shellshear, and I am the assistant editor for The Signal.
And today we're going to be discussing a story 11 years in the making, or a plot 11 years in the making, film-wise, and decades worth in the comic books. Avengers Endgame, which comes out in about a week from when you're hearing this. Before we get into Avengers Endgame, however, I want to just do a quick shout out to the Fantasy Movie League. We have about 6 more weeks. It's 14 in total, and we have 6 left to compete for prizes. First place is going to be getting a gift card to the movie theater of their choice, and everybody who participates in at least 50% of the week, so that's 7 weeks, will be put in a raffle for a pop culture movie prize, and that is a Dark Phoenix comic. It's the complete original story and a reprint of the original story. It's not a $700 comic. A Spider-Man comic and a Funko or vinyl pop. And that's going to be at the end of the semester. Just of who's at the top right now, Melania of Oz is number 1 at the moment. Katya G1 and user with a bunch of numbers and letters. You're great. You're 3rd right now. Your username is very hard to read. You could change it. If you are interested in joining the Signal Movie League, just go to uhclthesignal.com and in the search bar type in Fantasy Movie League to see how to participate. It's going to be really hard to get first place at this point, but you can practice so that you can come back in another semester and be the underdog. So Avengers Endgame. We started off in 2008 with the Incredible Hulk movie and the first Iron Man movie, even though people don't really think about the Hulk movie anymore. And Miles is going to tell us a little bit about the phases.
So in Phase 1, like Alyssa was saying, we saw the release of Iron Man early summer of 2008, and then later in that same summer, the release of the Incredible Hulk. We did eventually see the Incredible Hulk portrayed by Ed Norton replaced with Mark Ruffalo in 2012's The Avengers, which was the culmination of Phase 1. So that was Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor, as well as Captain America, the first Avenger. So those all culminated in the first 2012 Avengers movie, where we kind of saw Loki attempting to invade Earth and obtain the power of the Tesseract. Obviously brought us into Phase 2, right? Right after the Battle of New York, you have Iron Man 3, Tony Stark struggling with the anxieties of the war and the army of the Chitauri attacking New York City. And further really having the obsessive compulsion of preparing for the next great threat to defend the Earth from. So you kind of see that carried throughout all of the characters as they kind of go on through the phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With Thor, you see him continue to kind of rise to the occasion, getting closer and closer to becoming the King of Asgard. Captain America reunited with his best friend on some pretty unexpected circumstances, ending his Phase 2 movie basically searching for more answers. And that all culminates in Captain America Civil War, which is technically early Phase 3, but we ended Phase 2 with Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers Age of Ultron.
I think in Phase 1, Earth with some space, and Phase 2, it's like the bounds of where the story would be set did not matter anymore.
Absolutely, yeah. They definitely transcended the boundary of Earth for sure in Phase 2. And then after Phase 2 even, getting into struggling with reality, right? And talking about reality. And Phase 3 is a lot about how we grapple with these like large looming threats in the world and definitely getting on a really big cosmic level, especially with Doctor Strange being the first of the Phase 3 films that really brought us to that cosmic level, showcasing the villain of Dormammu. Huge deal. And then even going into things like Thor Ragnarok, seeing Hela come back, really just putting Thor through it again. He's really been through a lot.
This poor guy.
Yeah. And then obviously Black Panther, huge, awesome movie, successful, coming into Infinity War, straight out of Civil War. Really awesome to see the way that his character develops and changes throughout these movies. And then the heartbreaker, right? Infinity War.
Ugh,
That's where we're at now, more or less.
So at this point in the podcast, from here on out is spoilers. I don't think for the next minute it's going to be too many. Actually, no, I'll just start with the spoilers so you get the point. But from here on out, it's spoilers. Thank you for listening if you're leaving now. But for those that are staying, of course, the heartbreaker of the last Avengers, yes, was the snapping, I guess. The snap.
It is officially referred to as the decimation, yes.
The decimation.
The decimation obviously being a really sad event for all of our new Avengers, as well as for our original 6. But more or less, it seems like the original 6, with the help of some of our newer Avengers, will be resolving this issue in one way or another. Obviously, we also saw at the end of Captain Marvel, the post-credits scene includes Captain Marvel very directly responding and coming to the aid of the Avengers after the decimation. So, other than that, there's not a whole lot that we know, unless you pick apart every little trailer, which many people have. I know I have, but we won't have that conversation now. So that kind of obviously brings us into the Endgame, right? We're in the Endgame now.
I have not seen a trailer for Endgame. I've
on purpose?
On purpose.
Okay.
Wow.
So I did it with the same with the last Harry Potter book. I'm just that way I can't I won't think that this is one thing that happened, but it's actually gonna be this thing. I won't get
So the Avengers, before getting really deep into Endgame, Miles just kind of gave us
Big vague summary, right?
yes, that's still nothing compared to the details of each film and how they connect. But we each kind of came into this process of these 11 years kind of at a different point. So at what point during their phases, what movie, or for some people it was a show and then the movies, because the shows do reference the movies, did you become where you're gonna see almost every film until the end?
So fun fact about me, I still have not seen the Incredible Hulk film. I probably won't ever see the Incredible Hulk film.
That's the most forgiving, I think, of all fans.
I saw Iron Man on DVD because I never cared for him. It wasn't until they introduced Thor and Captain America, who were 2 characters I've always loved, even as a child, that I was like, okay. And then when they're all coming together in the Avengers, I was like, oh, this is going to be a thing?
Yeah.
This is a thing, I'm going to have to commit myself to it. So
I had watched many of them not realizing that they I thought they were all connected, ooh, Easter egg. I didn't understand that this was pre-planned.
Yeah.
But I had seen most of them, and then when I got to the first Guardians of the Galaxy and I saw the stone, I was like, wait, this is the stuff from Earth. They're going to connect them in a big, more meaningful way. And then I looked it up, and I started to go back, and fill the gaps, because I had seen most of them. But I started filling them in order.
Yeah.
And then after the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, I've seen almost every Marvel movie. If I haven't, it's on purpose. I've seen almost every Marvel movie that has come out in theaters since then, and that's the moment that clicked for me. And it's weird because that one's so different from the rest, and I didn't look at it as better than the other ones. It's just now I understand that it's a long narrative, and I like long narratives. I read series, and I looked at it more as a series with individual stories, and I was hooked.
So I was 11 years old when I saw the trailer for Iron Man. And I thought it was the most badass thing I'd ever seen in my life. So, of course, I begged my dad to take me and my brothers to go see it. I stayed until the very end to see the post-credit scene because I had read online about it, and we had seen it probably a week after it came out. But I very vividly remember buying into this whole thing very early on. I've seen every major MCU movie in theaters, including The Incredible Hulk, despite him being replaced. I think that movie I think it gets a little bit more hate probably than it totally deserves, but I understand why it gets the hate that it does, because it's not that great of a movie ultimately. The Hulk has been done dirty too many times. So I'm glad, honestly, that they kind of replaced him with Mark Ruffalo and went on with a way cooler Hulk storyline than I think we ever would have gotten if they continued with the Hulk arc that they started with. That being said, I've seen every single one in theaters since, and I am elated for Endgame to see how this all is finally going to come together into one hopefully very satisfying ending.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good things from the people involved with the movies in all of their press junkets and press tours that they've been doing the past couple of weeks, and everybody seems really excited and really pleased with the way that it's going to turn out. So
something that led me to not understand how they were all connected is I'm used to like the other superhero movies before, like the Spider-Mans and the X-Men. It is very clear that if this is not a sequel, this is a prequel, this is something. And it follows like fantasy where it's like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter where it's in the beginning.
Like linear.
Yeah, and with these, I'm glad that they didn't do that, but that confused me as a person that goes in and out of comics and never got to the big storylines because I would just read single issues. And if I never saw the resolve, okay, we'll pick up something else.
Absolutely. Well, and of course, as kind of a self-proclaimed super fan, I am doing a rewatch every single day. The Russo brothers have actually posted on their Twitter which film to watch, basically, in anticipation for Endgame.
That's really cute.
Tonight it's Avengers Age of Ultron, and there are, I think, 12 days left. So
it's like Christmas.
Exactly, yeah.
It's an advent calendar for Marvel.
Exactly.
So, Avengers Endgame. The Avengers Infinity left us with people no longer existing. Some people say dead, but technically they do not exist.
I'm so upset.
We have seen people in interviews, like Black Panther being asked, like, hey, what's going to happen? And even in outside of the story, they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. It's very entertaining to watch. It's also very frustrating. Everybody has their theories of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
What I want to know from you guys is, you can answer either or.
Okay.
What major part of the movie do you predict will happen, or what is a major thing that you know will never end up on screen, but that you would love to see in this movie?
Something I would like to see happen, personally, right? Endgame, as a phrase, has history in the MCU. You can look into that theory if you like. But I would really like to see, especially the completion of Tony Stark's story arc, that quote really specifically, saying, a suit of armor around the world, that's the end game. And I would really love to see Ultron come back in some big way, because that's kind of how Ultron is in the comics. He always is being defeated and then rising back up from the ashes only to try and take over the world once again. So it would be really cool maybe if the Avengers and maybe even Thanos saw a greater threat than even just Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet and had to take out something like Ultron. But that's definitely very, very crazy, I think, in terms of predictions. So
that's one that you don't think will happen, but
unlikely
you would love.
to happen, but it would be so cool to see Ultron come back and all the Avengers, maybe even Thanos, teaming up with them to fight against Ultron with wielding an Infinity Gauntlet or something crazy like that.
I have two things. One, I do want to see, even though he was,
I would like to
see a redemption story for Peter Quill. I think that's because like the first two Guardians films makes us like love him and like and then they like completely destroy him in Infinity War kind of. I would like to see like a redemption arc on that one. I also want to see, cause, like, the big heavy hitters are going to be Stark, Thor, and Captain America. I want to see an unsuspecting like person like be the winner. Like they're the ones who like throw the final punch. Like somebody you wouldn't expect, like Falcon or something, Captain Falcon or something.
I've been thinking a lot recently actually about this too, and I really wonder to what degree maybe we could see like the Avengers attempt to just continuously throw themselves at Thanos and just try to battle him until he's weak or weary enough to lose. And it would be really, really cool maybe if we saw some of those earlier heroes like Thor and Captain America and Iron Man all kind of take on Thanos and maybe even sacrifice their lives fighting against him to make him weak and weary, and then one of the newer Avengers coming in to deal that final blow and push us into the next phase of the MCU. That would be very exciting, I think.
I think that would make it solid enough to where people understand that it's an almost like a revolving door of the team.
Yes.
And it's like a necessary step to the next.
Yeah.
The next story.
I would like to see Ant-Man play a part. I think he will, definitely, but I'd like to see him play like a large part, not like his part in Civil War. Also, if they do somehow, whatever they do, I would like to see some more Doctor Strange time.
Absolutely.
Even maybe a Doctor Strange sequel in the future. I just love Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Speaking of sequels, let's do a shout it out like previous episodes.
Okay.
It's something that normally it's something we've enjoyed or something we're looking forward to. We're gonna make this one strictly something we're looking forward to or that we would like to see after Avengers Endgame. This could be a phase thing where it's within a movie universe, or it could be a show, or if the events of the movie would leak into comic narratives since they're an adaptation already.
Yeah.
So what's something that is officially planned or a wish that you guys have other than Doctor
more
Strange?
Doctor Strange.
I think that is confirmed.
I
just
believe
not
that
Yeah.
we
in
are
here.
getting more Doctor Strange.
I'm really excited.
Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is the best casting the MCU has probably done yet.
Honestly, I would like to see, because I know they're planning on doing more films. They've already said that, and they want to like focus on diversity.
Absolutely.
You know, part of me really still wants Black Widow to get her own film. I've wanted this
so
for
that's
so
something
long.
I think that is official now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I want to see, I think we're going back, you know. I'm assuming everyone's being brought back. Like, this is my assumption. And I think that I would like to see a new Captain America film, but instead of it being like Chris Evans, I want to see it be like Captain Falcon take the role of
That would be
Captain
awesome.
America.
Yeah.
Before Miles starts, this is a list of ones that I think are official, but they don't have dates or
Okay.
any information because they don't want to give anything. Is Black Widow, The Eternals, Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, Shang-Chi, which is someone just like The Eternals that hasn't been introduced yet, and The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And The Guardians of the Galaxy is the only one that has an official year, which is 2022. The rest are just, yeah. They say that with the phases, and you're like, oh my god, that's far away, and here it is, already 2019.
Well, I expect us to get more confirmation dates on that
Absolutely.
in August when D23 happens. 'Cause
Absolutely.
usually when it happens.
I will say personally, I really just want more Spider-Man. I can't get enough Spider-Man. Tom Holland is doing such a great job in that role.
But you're gonna get it.
As much as I love Sam Raimi and you know his trilogy of the Spider-Man films, and even Andrew Garfield's attempt at Spider-Man, all great, admirable films. This one's really solid. I mean, Civil War
Yeah.
Spider-Man alone was so exciting. I was elated to see the trailer, and seeing Spider-Man in that trailer amped up my excitement for that movie by like tenfold.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man Far From Home does come out a little bit later this year, but I really want at least a Spider-Man trilogy. So I want another Spider-Man on top of Spider-Man Far From Home. I want as much Spider-Man as we can get. I really want to see Spider-Man interact with Captain Marvel because they have a lot of really fun banter and they have a really great relationship in the comics. So seeing that come to life on screen would be super awesome.
I would like to see with the Fox merger, I want to see if they bring in X-Men.
Well,
I do.
I think that X-Men is a really exciting thing, but I think that especially with how like big a lot of the Fox X-Men movies have been, maybe having like a short break, at least maybe 2, 3, 4 years until we see another X-Men movie. I would like to see the X-Men move into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it will make it all the much bigger. But at the same time, that could also be a dangerous play. So
I really like the actors they have playing. Oh my
Well,
God,
they
Sophie
would
Turner.
be recasting them.
exactly, yeah.
My
That's,
Sophie Turner girl.
I do love the existing Fox X-Men films, at least for what they are. Not all of them are perfect, but for the most part, they're pretty solid
That's
movies.
something consistent, in my opinion, is casting. No matter what issues that there are, their casting for some of the key roles has been great.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like, man, I feel bad that you're being...
Exactly. So it's a little disappointing. Maybe, hopefully, some of those roles will carry over, but yeah.
I'd love to see, kind of going along with the Spider-Man thing, I'd love to see Kamala Khan be pulled into this MCU. And if they have more Spider-Man movies, that's another person that, since they're very similar, they do have like storylines that go together. They're both like the youngest and admire the other characters to a degree that they fanboy and fangirl. Like in the comics, she has like the Avengers on her wall. Like you would have like a boy band. And I feel like Peter Parker is like 2 steps away from that.
Yeah.
So that would be fun to see on screen. I don't really have any other wishes because like I'm gonna watch it no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I am. Like, they can't burn me too bad.
Absolutely.
But if they did do an X-Men tie-in, I would like a period of time where you
Yeah.
just don't. That way you
Yeah.
can ease it in, kind of like they
Exactly.
eased in the MCU.
Yep.
They can ease them in, and it'll make it for more like richer stories.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because a lot of the problems that they have are so different from the Avengers, and to see them contrasted as
Yep.
like you got your powers on accident versus
Yep. Yeah.
born, you can go into all that.
Well, like I think it'd be really cool if they didn't focus on like the Jean Greys or the Scots or whatever they would do, or the Cyclops. They would do like a minor character that only like real like deep fans would know that
Well,
that's an X-Men character.
Well, even I think a lot of the great X-Men characters have unfortunately been portrayed in not great ways. Cyclops especially.
Oh,
Cyclops has some of the greatest potential on the X-Men roster, and time again, he has just been totally like bulldozed over in these X-Men movies.
sucks because
He is like
he's my favorite.
Scott Summers has long been my favorite X-Men, hands down. And to see him just constantly not
Trashed?
done, that's one way to put it. Yeah, I was going to say not done well. But,
Sorry.
but to constantly just have
Salty.
him not done well is super disappointing. And to see a good Cyclops Scott Summers outing would be awesome, maybe as a solo film.
Yo.
So just to wrap up and shout it out, we want X-Men at some point. We
Some
want
point.
more Spider-Man. We want Captain America continued through Falcon.
Yeah, I want to see like some of the sidekicks take the mantle.
I know some people want Bucky to be more involved in some
Absolutely.
way.
Oh, I thought it was a good Bucky film. I love Sebastian Stan as an actor.
And then for me, Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel. And since they have Captain Marvel already
Yes.
out, it's people won't get confused.
Yeah, I was going to mention, actually, I am really excited to figure out what happens in the 20-year gap, right, between Captain Marvel and whatever happens in the next Captain Marvel film, presumably. It would be really cool, like you're saying, to see a Miss Marvel film, because we know that Monica Rambeau exists in the MCU officially. And after about 20 years, she would be right about the age that she might become Miss Marvel. So
Yeah.
it would be really awesome if we saw even maybe like a Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel movie where they're like
That'd be
mentoring, maybe where she's kind of mentoring her
Yeah.
since they have that kind of bond already. That would be super exciting.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be dope.
Last thing before we wrap up this episode, the website. So the last few weeks, the last few issues, we've had a lot of content that'll come out. If you like this episode, it's light content. So Miles, who gave us our brief summary of the phases, he has is it a timeline?
Yes, so yeah, it's a full timeline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe spanning from 2008 until 2019.
19.
Basically just a brief history of each film, brief synopsis of each film in between, just to keep you up to speed. So if you forgot some of the major elements of the plots of each movie, check that out.
Yes, before you go into the movie. I have a blog that has some content about the X-Men, an epic history, a documentary series, as well as if you just type in Marvel on the website, there's content that's come out the last year or so. Like we did staff picks in the fall of our favorite people in the MCU and in television series. We also have a lot of Game of Thrones content on the website, a podcast, Emily's The Signal Insight.
Whoop whoop.
There was an episode about Game of Thrones. We have a quiz about Game of Thrones, what house you're in, and we also have, I put out a listicle of a way to catch up to prepare for the new season. By the time you're listening to this, it has already come out. Don't forget to also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at UH The Signal. Thank you again, Miles and Emily,
You're welcome.
for coming on. And yeah, they have content right now you can go check out
Whoop.
related to Marvel and related to Game of Thrones.
That's all I do anymore is Game of Thrones.